Hey everybody, you're looking live, as Britt Musburger used to say, but today's my birthday, but I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about some news out of the Adams Point district of Oakland. Remember Rick Mitchell and Maria Alderete, the couple that own Luka's on the corner of Grand Avenue and Broadway? Well, they've announced through traditional media print that they're back, or planning to be back by the end of the year, at a place called Bar Skula, Skula. Now they're taking over the place that was once called Sidebar Restaurant and lasted for a long time. But I remember a number of memorable eateries in that space. Sidecar was the latest one, but there was one in the 90s called LePetit. And LePetit was a French restaurant that was actually a modern rendition of the previous French restaurant by the same owner's family, if I have that correct. At any rate, they had the greatest cassoulet I've ever had in my life. And I'm serious, it was terrific. I would go down there just for that. It was also a great date restaurant. And in those days, demographically, there were a lot of singles in Oakland, still are. But if you wanted to see who else the person you were dating, in my case, the woman you were dating was also dating, you might want to go over to Le Petit and take your new date over to see what the older date was the other date was doing. I'm not kidding, folks. That's how crazy it was. Um, but the one thing everybody bonded over was the food. It was outstanding. So I'm disappointed that Rick and uh, Maria are not able to restart Luka's, at least at this point. Maybe it's in their head. I don't know. But Rick said something that really stuck to me. He said that he it's a tough time for restaurants in Oakland and a number of places, but they're going to give a go anyway. Uh, this gets to my pet peeve, folks, to close out this video. The city of Oakland needs to establish enhanced infrastructure financing district zones to use tax increment financing to do what we used to do before 2011, and that's aid businesses and people in the case of rental assistance, businesses in the case of, well, rental assistance in that way, in some cases, low interest loans or grants. We don't do any of that. And we have to stop that. We have to get back to engineering a government that works rather than the refrain that the current council members have, which is, we don't have any money. I think people need to be more honest about it and say they don't know how to create the money. And you need to step away from people who have these relationships with investment banks that just want you to use precious taxpayer dollars for their traditional instruments. We haven't um, had a good old release revenue bond in some time. We've had these general obligation bonds, which draw from what? The general fund. Uh, this is getting crazy. That's why you have this stack of basically additional tax rates on top of the basic one. Someone says, hey, this is getting a little outrageous. Well, yeah, because the investment banks have taken over Oakland to do these traditional deals in a way like I've never seen before, and no one's talking about it. We got to stop it. But I digress. One thing we need to do is to understand what tax increment financing is. I interviewed um, Oakland District 4 council member who's doing a great job, Janani Ramakandran, and I said the same thing, and she says, well, that's coming up for its second reading regarding Brooklyn Basin. But I looked at the legislation. It has nothing to do with tax increment financing, which means she didn't know. So the city needs an education on what the city used to do. All right. So we need to have that kind of work. We need to re-educate or educate the new leaders uh, as John and nieces were young. Well, that's a great reason for you to be educated on what Oakland is really all about. Oakland has been about fiscal innovation for quite some time. It's only recently that we stopped doing it. Rick and Maria, welcome back. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube, folks, and bookmark zenny report.com. Thanks.